everyone! Hi! So this is Question Corner video number 24! Yay! So as I said in the beginning of the last video, if you guys have any comments or questions for the Question Corner, please put them in the comments below or in the link to, or in my sub forum on the JVlog forum. And the link to that is in the description. So today's Question Corner video I think is actually kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys will find it this interesting. But this one is from slackergirl02. She asked me, is there an alphabetical order in Japanese? I know there is the phonetic hiragana as well as kanji, but do they also have their own alphabetical order? Or is it based on the Roman alphabet? Or do they have a different system entirely? So I never really thought about that before. It had never occurred to me that, you know, maybe they have their own, or it never was really a thought. So I asked a few of the teachers at a couple of the schools I work at, like what they use, because I mean they do seating charts and things like that, and they have experience themselves and things like that. And I got some pretty interesting responses, and it started a couple like really interesting discussions. So yeah, so basically I've selected 10 names. Most of them are the last names of my friends. So yeah, so there are 10 last names, 10 Japanese last names. And so I'm going to put a screen up in a minute, but so first I'm going to show them to you in alphabetical order. So what we would use in English-speaking countries. Yeah. Okay, so the first one is Aoki, Hashiguchi, Ishikawa, Kubo, Morimoto, Nakasuji, Nishino, Saito, Watanabe, Yamashita. So this is alphabetical order. So you go A, B, C, D, and then for the first letter and then the next letter. So let's take Aoki for example. So the first letter is A, so that's first, and then the next letter is O, but if it was Aiki, that would be like I next, then that would have to be first before Aoki. And what they have currently in Japan is similar to that, and what they had before was also similar to that, in the sense where you start with the first letter, figure out where that letter goes, and then you go to the next one and figure out where that letter goes. So basically, the current Japanese order is based on the current hiragana order, and also katakana. They follow the same order. So basically, it contains all of the syllables in the Japanese language, and there's like a character for them. So yeah, so I'm going to put a chart up of that, and I'll read them off to you before I go into like the current Japanese order. So here you go. So this is from left to right and top to bottom, okay? So a, I, u, e, o, ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, sa, shi, su, se, so, ta, chi, tsu, te, to, na, ni, nu, ne, no, ha, hi, fu, he, ho, ma, mi, mu, me, mo, ya, yu, yo, ra, ri, ru, re, ro, wa, o, n. There are also some special characters, but I'm not really going to go into those, like gagi, gugego. So if you have like 10, like a two little lines next to a character, it changes it. I'm not really going to go into those because it basically would follow the same order as this, and this is like the main order. And also I'd have to make another picture to put up on the screen for you, but there you go. So basically the Japanese order, the current Japanese order, follows that. So you would take the first letter and see like, where does this go in this list? Like, is it a vowel? Does it start with a vowel? Is it start with a K, the K-A, or things like that. So the first one, for the same names that I used for the alphabetical order, Aoki, Ishikawa, Kubo, Saito, Nakasuji, Nishino, Hashiguchi, Morimoto, Yamashita, Watanabe. So as you can see, I'm going to put the two of them next to each other so you can see them, but the only one that's in the same place is Aoki for to compare current Japanese order and alphabetical order. It's kind of ridiculous like how completely different it is, but it does follow the same thing. So like the very first one in the hiragana order would be A. So Aoki starts with A. So that one naturally would go first in the order. And Ishikawa, it starts with I, and that's the next letter in the order of the hiragana order. So it's I. So Ishikawa. And Kubo is like ka, ki, ku. That's, the next one in the order. So it basically goes like that. So yeah, I mean it's just very similar in the way that it's set up and organized to the way that in comparison to like alphabetical order. However, the order is totally different, as you can see. So yeah, I have some like comparison things. So yeah, I'll give you a second to answer, kind of like a quiz-ish thing. So I have two names. I have three of them. So ready? First one, I'll put them up on the screen. So Yamashita and Yamasaki. So which one would go first in the Japanese order? So the current Japanese order. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is Yamasaki. Yamasaki would go first. And Yamashita would go second. That's because Yama-sa. And it goes sa, shi, su, se, so. So sa goes first. So Yamasaki would go first. Okay, number 2 for the little quiz. Number 2, Hashiguchi and Hashimoto. So they both start with hashi, yeah? But so which one would go first? So it's got a male. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is Hashiguchi goes first. Because gu comes from ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, ga, gi, gu, ge, go. So gu comes before mo. So Hashiguchi goes first. Number 3, the last one, ready? There's Morimoto and Morita. So which one will go first? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is Morita, because tachi to teto comes before mami mume mo. So yeah, so that's basically, yeah, it's basically how it works, and it's very, very, very similar to the way everything goes with alphabetical order. Now, what is interesting is that that's not the original order that they had in Japan. Prior to the Meiji era, which began in the very late 1800s, and that was basically when Japan opened its doors to the rest of the world, and the influx of Western items and clothing and things like that, and they changed the power from the shogunate back to the emperors, basically. So that was like a really interesting, exciting time in Japanese history. But because they had to introduce everything to the outside world, they had to do a separation between like Western words and like they're added to Japanese, and also with the native Japanese words. So they developed Romaji. So Romaji is well, they didn't develop Romaji, they borrowed Romaji, but they added it to their own syllabary, and they translated their hiragana into this order. But they realized that I guess they realized that their original system was kind of outdated, and it had some sounds in it that are not actually in modern Japanese, except for some very small regional dialects, and also in Okinawa. So they had to update the whole system. This former order is called Iroha, and it's based on a poem that uses every syllable in the Japanese language one time. So it's basically like a pentagram. So it's a sentence that uses every letter in an alphabet. So like in English we have a bunch of them, but the one that we see most frequently, like in typing tests, is the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So that uses every letter in the alphabet, basically. So yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't use it only once though, and it's not really a poem. It's just sort of a weird sentence. But Iroha is actually a poem. So I'm going to put that up here for you on the screen, and I'll read it to you. Ready? Iroha ni hohe to chiri nuru o waka yo tare so tsune naramu ui の奥山けふこえて朝き夢見しおいうえひもせす. So, if you heard me stumble over some words, there's some that are a little bit difficult to say, and there are some that are actually not in modern Japanese. For example, like ue, that's not in modern Japanese. That has, that's become archaic. There's, what else? There's also wheat. Wheat is not also in modern Japanese. Wit and wheat are not in modern Japanese. So, yeah, I mean, this poem was written forever ago. God, when was this written? It was written in the Heian era. They don't know exactly when it was written for, like, the exact year. But the Heian era was from 794 until 1179, according to Wikipedia. So, it's really, really, really old. And I'll read the literal translation of the poem from Wikipedia for you. It's basically, even the blossoming flowers will eventually scatter. Who in our world is unchanging? The deep mountains of vanity, we cross them today, and we shall not seize the superficial dreams, nor be deluded. So it's really, 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 really deep, basically. And that was basically how students used to learn how to write hiragana and read and everything like that. So it was very, very useful to them for a very, very long time. And now they have a different system, which doesn't mean anything, and it's pure memorization. But it's much easier to learn because this poem, because it was so old, it uses words that are not commonly used or no longer used in modern Japanese, and also the hiragana, like the syllables that are no longer in modern Japanese. So yeah, they really, really needed a new system. So those same 10 names, according to the old system, the Iroha system, would be like this. It would be Ishikawa, Hashiguchi, Nishino, Watanabe, Nakasuji, Kubo, Yamashita, Aoki, Saito, Morimoto. So it's completely different from the way that it is today in Japan. So, like, the only one that's in the same place is Nakasuji. It's still in 5th place. That's it. Yeah, it's very, very, very different. But I think it's really interesting, to be quite honest, because I don't know, to figure this out I had to go into like a lot of history, and had a lot of really interesting conversations. So basically the answer is Japan does have their own completely different order. The change in the order was brought about by the introduction of Romaji, so the English alphabet. I guess it's not the Roman alphabet. The introduction of the Roman alphabet into Japanese brought about this change, and like some say so did the opening of Japan. And they had previously used like an archaic system based on the poem Iroha, which is still taught in schools today, but not as like a learning tool for learning hiragana and katakana and things like that. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. I hope you guys learned something. I thought it was really cool and interesting. And again, if you guys have any questions for the question corner, please put them in the comments below or in my sub forum on the JVlog forum. And even if I don't make a video, I really do try to respond in the comments. So yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye!